y'all, my name is KAyLA, and if you're a Christian like me, you probably celebrate Easter with the intention to remember Jesus' death and resurrection. But how do we get 3 days and 3 nights from Good Friday to Easter Sunday? And often we think that the day Jesus rose again affected when the Sabbath day is. But is this biblically accurate? And if so, what made us change our mindset of that, and what day is the actual Sabbath day, and should we keep it as Christians? There's so much to unpack. Let's get to the video. Okay, y'all, let's start off with the first question. Why do we think Sunday is the Sabbath day? A lot of people will agree that Friday evening to Saturday evening used to be the Sabbath day, but since Jesus rose again on Sunday, he changed it to Sunday. We also see in Exodus 28 through 10 how the Sabbath at least used to be on the 7th day. Exodus 28 through 10. Remember to dedicate the Sabbath day. You are to labor 6 days and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. You must not do any work, you, your son or your daughter, your male or female slave, your livestock, or the foreigner who is within your gates. So it's pretty clear that the Sabbath at least used to be on the 7th day of the week. But is it accurate to think we should celebrate on the first day of the week? Let's keep going. Okay, y'all, let's ask some questions. Does the day Jesus rose again affect / change the Sabbath day? Did Jesus even rise the day that we think he did? And if he didn't, then why do we start celebrating it on the wrong day, and what day did he actually rise again on? And does the day that Jesus rose again really even matter? Okay, I think it's first good to know what a biblical day is, because in our culture, we're used to the 24-hour system where at midnight it's a new day. But according to the Bible, days begin and end at sunset. Genesis 1:8. God called the expanse sky, evening came, then morning, the second day. Genesis 1:13. Evening came and then morning, the third day. Genesis 1:14. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night. They will serve as signs for festivals and for days and for years." Unlike the system we're used to where the clock says 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. when it's a new day, the biblical clock tells us from sunset to sunset when it's a new day. And some would argue sunrise to sunrise. But the point is, a new day is different than what we commonly think of according to the Bible. Okay, that's interesting, but why does that even matter? Let's keep that in mind and ask the next question. How long was Jesus supposed to be dead for? 3 days and 3 nights. But why do we think this? Matthew 12:40. For as Jonah was in the belly of the great fish 3 days and 3 nights, so the Son of Man will be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. So why is this important to know? What day are we often taught that Jesus died? Friday. And what day are we often taught that Jesus rose again? Sunday. Yet, is this biblical? How do we get 3 days and 3 nights from Good Friday to Easter Sunday? I mean, you could kind of get 3 days, like Friday, Saturday, if you count the day he rose again. But how do you even get 3 nights? Friday night, Saturday night. So why have we been taught this? What started this teaching in the first place? And what day did he actually die and rise again? The missing Sabbath. So why is it taught that Jesus died on Friday? Let's go to John 19, verse 31. Since it was the preparation day, the Jews did not want the bodies to remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for the Sabbath was a special day. They requested that Pilate have the men's legs broken and that their bodies be taken away. At sunset on Friday is when the weekly Sabbath starts, and since it mentions the Sabbath, it would make sense to think that Jesus died on Friday. Or does it? Could he have possibly died on a different day? But if so, how, since Friday is the beginning day of the Sabbath? Could there possibly be a different Sabbath day that we are unaware of? Ooh! Okay, let's go to Leviticus 23, 5 through 7. The Passover to the Lord comes in the first month, at twilight on the 14th day of the month. The festival of unleavened bread to the Lord is on the 15th day of the same month. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. On the first day you are to hold a scared assembly. You are to not do any daily work. So we know there's a weekly Sabbath, and now we learn that there's special Sabbaths, which means occasionally in 1 week you can have 2 Sabbaths and not just one. Okay, that's interesting, but how do we know if Jesus died on a weekly Sabbath or a special Sabbath? And what about if that special Sabbath was on a weekly Sabbath? Let's go to John 19:31. Since it was the preparation day, the Jews did not want the bodies to remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a special day. They requested that Pilate have the men's legs broken and that their bodies be taken away. Some translations will say a very special day, a special day. Others will have it in parentheses. And once more, how do we know what day the special day took place on? Let's go to Mark 16:1. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Solomon bought spices so they could go and anoint him. And now let's go to Luke 23, verse 56. Then they returned and prepared spices and perfumes, and they rested on the Sabbath according to the commandment. Wait just a minute. How could they have prepared spices they haven't bought yet? If they bought spices after the Sabbath, yet prepared them before, how does this add up? Because there were 2 Sabbaths and not just one that week. Let's go to Matthew 26, verse 19. So the disciples did as Jesus had directed them and prepared the Passover. Let's go back to John 19:31. Since it was the preparation day, the Jews did not want the bodies to remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for the Sabbath was a special day. They requested that Pilate have the men's legs broken and that their bodies be taken away. What day is after Passover? The festival of unleavened bread. And the first day is a Sabbath day. Leviticus 23, 5-7. The Passover to the Lord comes in the first month at twilight on the 14th day of the month. The festival of unleavened bread to the Lord is on the 15th day of the same month. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. On the first day you are to hold a scared assembly. You are not to do any daily work. But when was this special Sabbath? Jesus would be dead 3 days and 3 nights. So let's think here. Okay, let's think. He died the evening of Passover. Then there's a special Sabbath. Then there's a non-Sabbath day where they're able to buy spices that we see in Mark 16:1. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Solomon bought spices so they could go and anoint him. Then, often mistaken as 2 different days, but the same day, they prepared the spices in Luke 23:56. Then they returned and prepared spices and perfumes, and they rested on the Sabbath according to the commandment. After the special Sabbath day was over, they had 1 day to buy and prepare spices before the weekly Sabbath day. After the weekly Sabbath day was over, they went to the tomb very early in the morning, and Jesus had already risen. Matthew 28:1-6. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to view the tomb. He is not here, for he has been resurrected just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. So we know early Sunday morning, aka the first day of the week, he had already risen. So let's see if this works. If Jesus died Wednesday evening, there was a special Sabbath Thursday, then a day you could buy stuff on Friday, and then the weekly Sabbath comes and he rises again Saturday evening. And so when they come to the tomb on Sunday, the first day of the week, he is gone. Could that work? Wednesday, night day. Thursday, night day. Friday, night day. And Saturday, he's gone. This seems to be more biblically accurate than Friday to Sunday. You get 3 days and 3 nights and explains how Mary used spices before she bought them. because really she bought them and used them the same day between 2 Sabbaths. So does this matter? Well, it's good to have a better biblical understanding of how things took place. But also, a lot of people celebrate Sunday as the Sabbath day because they think that's the day that Jesus rose again, when that is not the case. Although many mean well to keep the Sabbath day on Sunday, that does not make Sunday the Sabbath day. Also, learning this gives a better biblically accurate view of being 3 days and 3 nights instead of 3 days and 2 nights. That leads to the next question: why did we even start celebrating Sunday as the Sabbath day? We know at least a part of this is the misunderstanding of Jesus dying on the weekly Sabbath day versus the special Sabbath day. But what even influenced this idea?